Okay, everybody. Let's thank the last group of panelists one more time with a round of applause. We've got a couple more exciting panels for you today. We're about to transition into an equally compelling dialogue in our next session titled Leadership Journeys. Women executives share their paths to success. This discussion promises to be a deep dive into the narratives of resilience, ambition, and breakthroughs. Our panelists today are trailblazing women who have navigated their way through various obstacles to reach the pinnacles of their careers. Let's give a warm welcome to our moderator, Denise Young, founder and president of Tiger's Eye Advisory Group, and our panelists. Let's welcome them to the stage.
Do this so I can see all of you beautiful ladies. Okay, of course. Oh, is my mic on now? Did everyone hear that? Good thing I didn't say anything inappropriate. How is everybody doing this fine afternoon, day 2 of the conference? Good? I want some more energy. So welcome everyone. This panel we're talking about, we have 4 extremely successful, passionate, dynamic women panelists here to talk about their successes to where they are today. So just a little bit about myself. Denise Young, founder and CEO of Tiger's Eye Advisory Group, offer people-focused solutions. And I guess a little bit about my success, right, is that it was a hard decision at about 7 years ago. I decided to start my own business. And I knew for years and years and years I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And yet it was that, I know we're going to hear a little bit about that on the panel today about the imposter syndrome. I can't do it. Who am I? So I'm very privileged and honored and feel very grateful that I get to moderate this panel today and very excited. So how we're going to run it today is that I'm going to start off and I'm going to introduce each panelist, and then I'm going to ask them a question, and then we're going to kind of use the 30 minutes to ask specific questions, and then hopefully at the end, depending how long all of us talk for, we will probably have an opportunity from the audience to ask 1 or 2 questions. But before I introduce each of these women, I would like everybody to think. I know it's hard right now, but think about what are you the most proud of, and it can be anything. But here's the only 2 rules. It can't be about your family, and it can't be it has to be about you personally. What are you most proud of? So I'm gonna just give you about 10 seconds to kind of think of that. Anybody want to shout out just some things? Woo, that's a good one. Yeah. I think we can all relate to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Opening doors for others.
Very
yes.
good.
Awesome. And you at the front, you had something to... Okay, thank you. Yeah. Resilience. Excellent. Yes. Yeah. This is really good because usually when I ask this question, it's like crickets. And I think this one is really important because, systems have been in place where sometimes we're not allowed to brag about ourselves. So this is that opportunity to brag about ourselves and be proud. With that being said, I want to brag about my 4 panelists here. So the first one is that we have sitting next to me, and I'm going to do this in order here, is I have Dr. Shanna Garrett, and she is an authentic leader within the higher education with a savvy for assessing dynamic situations and challenges. So my question for you is, I know we were talking about that we didn't have a lot of role models, like kind of growing up in our decade, right? So what do you think we can do to change this?
There's so much. As we were talking about not really having role models, I know for myself and others, our leadership journey has been a lot like a leadership scavenger hunt. You pick and choose what you think works best, but most importantly, it's about being your authentic self and knowing that your authentic self is enough.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. And next, we have Dr. Julie Harrigan, who contributes to, spans various areas of executive healthcare, leadership, and she is the founder of Physician EHR Solutions, specializing in electronic health record implementation and executive level oversight for standardization and best practices. So my question is, and I know we're going to go a little bit more detail about this as we go along, but I know that you got into your field at quite a young age. So how did you get through those tough times? Because I can only imagine some of the stuff that happened to you as being a young woman in this field.
Oh yeah. It's very interesting. It's not only challenging to be young, to be a girl, and then to be a girl in healthcare, which is, predominantly a men's society, a men's world, right? So, and that's not the case as much anymore, but when you get up into the C-suite executive space, it's very much so. Oftentimes, I remember when I first got into leadership with DaVita Healthcare Partners, for example, I went to a national leadership conference, and there were 6 women and 87 men at this conference. And I was one of the only doctors. We had 2 nurses and then a couple of other healthcare workers. And we laughed about it. We were taking a picture together. It was like the proverbial old men in white coat syndrome, and they look at you and the first thing they think is, oh, you must be a nurse. They never think that you're a doctor. They never think that you're their equal. They never think that you're intelligently at their level. And so, on a day-to-day basis, and even now, now I'm a C-suite executive. Now I have some recognition. Now I work with large healthcare systems and advise them on how to be better healthcare systems, right? And even now, it's very difficult to edge into that space and really have any credibility walking into a room as a female. And so, and I would say, you just fight tooth and nail every day to make sure that people understand that you're, not the ditzy blonde that you might, first appear to be. And, but walk in, wearing your pink high heels and, exude an air of confidence. And, but that battle is on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think most of us women can definitely relate.
Mm-hmm.
I see your head shaking. Yeah.
I changed my outfit twice today. No, 3 times.
Yep.
Because I just wasn't sure what to wear. And I said, nope, got to do this,
Yep.
right? And
Absolutely.
Yeah. So next we have Susan Elizabeth, who is a transformative force with over 33 years in the corporate world and 20 years as an executive. And she empowers high-achieving women to transcend imposter syndrome. So I know when we were talking, you were talking about, the need that you always felt you always had to man up, especially in your industry. So my question is, if, for any women that's in this room and any especially young women, kind of coming up, what would be your advice of how not to man up?
I love that. I think from my leadership journey as a woman, I'm definitely had an interesting one. It's had its highs and it's had its lows. And coming from the automotive industry in particular, it's a very male-dominated old industry as well. And it certainly is something that my role models were all men because that's all there was. Mm-hmm. And so that's also what was rewarded in our society. And it's no fault of anybody. It's just the way it was. So what I learned to do was be competitive, to be dominant, to be very driven, very focused, very linear, very monochromatic. And so over time, when I was doing this, I was also recognizing that I was exhausted, I was burned out, I was not feeling fulfilled as a woman. And I certainly didn't know how to step back and take time for myself. So I think my advice was to many women that have been mentoring or coaching around this is to really step back, find your own path, find your own way. You know, don't lean into a system that was never designed for us as women. Lean out, find your path, find your purpose, and find your own paradigm, because we do it differently. In fact, they should pay us more because we're intuitive as well.
Ooh, I like that idea.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we have Ann Summers, who is a physician assistant medical provider, public speaker, and CEO and founder of Daytime Diamonds Coaching. Ooh, now I get it.
That's the sparkle. Ooh.
So, I guess for you, Ann, my question would be is, what do you feel as, you know, as a, and again, we're going to hear more from you about your journey too, about how you kind of left the world and started up your own business. But if you could give some advice on, you know, to any women, like what do you feel it would be to say, get over that, you know, I guess get over the barriers and just keep moving forward?
Yeah. So I come from a different background than most, and I've been a physician assistant for over 25 years. I started a physician assistant when nobody knew what it was. I was handed a machete and said, go into the jungle and make a path, and all the trees are men and doctors, right? And so I'm swinging, and I'm a swinging, and I've made a path. But I don't think we give enough credit to the men doctors. And I know this is a woman leadership, but we do forget that we are at a cross of very different men. Women are going into their world. Men are in our world in a much different way. The beauty of where I come from medicine is that I learned how to evaluate, diagnose, and treat. I understand the importance of confidentiality, and I've been practicing HIPAA laws for over 2 decades. And to form trust and safety in yourself is hard. And that's what I teach clients to do. How do you overcome fear? How do you gain confidence? And how do you actually earn your own achievements? Because until you get to do that, it's hard to move forward. So really that's my advice, is learn how to overcome fear, how to gain confidence, and how to earn your own achievements. And understand that somebody like me that's been doing this and working with people for a long, long time understands that I can see what you're not showing me. I can hear what you're not saying, and I know the questions to ask. Mm-hmm. So the intuition, everything that everyone said up here is important. And it's just a journey. It's a journey of who are you, where are you going, how do you get there, and you need mentors and teachers and all those things. Do I still have 1 more minute? I don't want to take over. But this is important. This is important because everybody sitting in here has done this. You did the check boxes. You went to school, maybe you got married, maybe you got divorced, maybe you didn't, maybe you had a kid, you had a dog, you had a cat, you bought a house, you bought another house, you bought another car, and you're like, I worked so hard. Society told me I was going to be a millionaire, have lunch with Oprah, have a beach house, and I'm waking up thinking, is this as good as it gets? Right? And I'm still waiting for Oprah to call me. I really am.
So am I.
One of these days. Not today. But the premise is, I understand what it's like to do all the check boxes that society said and promised. Wealth isn't attracted to hard work. Love isn't enough to make a marriage work. And where do you go from there? And I help people live their tomorrow today, which is what I'm doing. That's why I'm wearing my diamonds. Because we get the diamonds out, get the things out of the safe, boys. We're going to use them today. Sparkle, 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 sparkle.
Thank you. So sometimes as we're going through these leadership journey, you get some really, really good advice. So I'm going to share what my lessons learned is at the end of this panel, but I would like to give Shanna, like if you want to, like what do you feel has been kind of your most impactful leadership lesson?
Gosh, there's been so many because I've been so fortunate to have some amazing mentors in my life. I think it really starts with a mindset, to be perfectly honest, that you can learn something from every situation. I mean, if you think back to the leaders that you've had throughout your career, you can immediately go to those that you remember those times where you're like, there's no way, if I ever have a team, I'm not doing that, or I'm not treating that person that way. Well, welcome to a growth mindset. You just learned to take a really challenging experience, turn it into resiliency, and now you have some wisdom. For as impactful as positive leaders are that show you empathy, compassion, care, strategy, all those wonderful leadership qualities, you have something to learn from both aspects of it. But most importantly, as you're going through that journey, which, by the way, you're in charge of your own leadership development. Don't be like me at a very young age where I showed up to my first job and said, hot damn, I can't wait for you to teach me how to be a leader. And they said, sit down, we have a long way to go with you. Right? Because I thought that's what being an adult and going to school and doing all the right things. You're in charge of your own development. So as you're going along that path, figure out what your strengths are and what your talents and your abilities are, but also where you have weaknesses so that you can hire a team to complement it. There's a nice balance, right? So being authentic is probably the best gift you can give to your leadership legacy, but also the best investment that you can make for yourself. So as a leader, find those mentors that are going to teach you something that you want to learn. They're going to teach you to look for your blind spots. They're going to push you out of your comfort zone, and that generally they care about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I liked how you said, yeah, that
Great advice.
it's really that authentic leadership piece, right? It's just really about being true to yourself.
Yeah,
and-
because you come to the office and the heart and the mind and the body, it's all connected. It all shows up. And quite honestly, I couldn't hide I'm a Texan if my life depended upon it, right? I mean, that's where I'm from. That's what I know. I use humor all the time. This is who I am, right? So why not build upon it?
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay, who am I going to ask next?
I love
Yeah.
the humor.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. You have to keep it real.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? You have to keep it, again, going back to that authenticity.
Yeah.
You have to keep laughing. You have to learn to laugh at yourself.
Oh,
Because you know you're going to trip up.
Mhm.
And, and at some point, stop apologizing. I think that's a really huge part of
Love that.
who we are as leaders and who we become as leaders going forward, in our careers, in life, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, the one thing that you have to learn to stop doing is apologizing, but making amends in other ways for things that you may have tripped up with. And again, having that ability to laugh at yourself from time to time and just be like, I'm just a complete doofus. It's just, how I'm going to continue to be as a person. And I think that there's a lot of respect gained from your ability to self-recognize and then show others that you may be a leader, but you're not perfect.
That's right.
And you don't expect them to be either. So very well said.
Absolutely. Right back at you.
Thank you.
This is an action.
All
Power
right.
enough.
All right.
Yeah, so Susan, I just kind of wanted to follow up on your, on the conversation around, about the manning up. And so what do you feel is, because a lot of the times in this world, and I know I've done it many times, was that you feel that you need more of your, we all have feminine and we all have masculine energy. And sometimes it's like as women that we feel that we have to, in order to get ahead, that we have to have that more masculine energy. So my question is, what do you feel is the true power of having that feminine energy and bringing it to life and kind of, and just embracing it? Like, what do you think the impacts are?
I love that question. Brilliant question that feeds right into kind of the path that I've been walking on and I've had to learn in this lifetime and in my career journey for sure. I think it comes back to being a human being and not just a human doing. Because again, this transcends, the feminine aspect, but I think, as a woman, as a leader, I was always going out there to everything that was outside of me. I was always running away from myself. I was always trying to prove myself, trying to achieve things. And it became a lot and everything was always out there. And it felt really good to accomplish things and achieve things because that's what we do as, successful professionals. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what I had to learn was that the feminine that I would abandon, don't be too emotional, don't be too much, don't be all that. Well, I'm sorry, that is not the way it is. The feminine is magnetic. The feminine can, like, when I've learned to come back to myself as a woman, like, I feel I'm going to express myself. I'm going to share my perspective because I represented over 50% of the buyers and 70% of the influences on these major purchase decisions on these expensive products. And so I was very comfortable, and I always had a lot of confidence and self-assurance. But I think it's coming back to myself as a woman and understanding what is this strength, this innate strength, or what some people call feminine power, which I think is maybe an overused word now. But it's coming back to realize that it is absolutely, you draw in, it's the presence, it's your presencing yourself, it's the way you present yourself, it's how you communicate. It's being known not just for what you do, but who you are, men or women.
Very well said.
Yes, very well said.
Excellent. Well, I mean, as women, it's kind of our secret superpower, right? I always say that, when you walk in a room and you can command that room just by having stepped into it, you're scared as hell, right? I mean, you're walking into that room thinking, oh my gosh, I just walked into a room of 5,000 men and they're all looking at me, and, whether or not and everything's going through your mind, but having that confidence and understanding that that is actually your superpower as a woman, as a leader, as an executive, as really anything in life is very powerful. So
I love what Sarah Jessica Parker said, trying to be a man is a waste of a woman.
Yes.
There's only one you.
great.
No matter who you are, you have gifts, you have talents, and I don't want to show up as my 90-year-old self wondering as I look back on my life, did I not come here to do what I was meant to do?
Yep.
And it's like now with the wisdom, like I want to give it back. I want to serve. I want to guide. I want to mentor. I want to coach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's taken you a long time to gain all that wisdom.
Yep.
It's taken, how long has it taken all of you to gain the wisdom that you have right now? You didn't just wake up with it. Like, that's life. That's who you are. That's why you walk in a room. That's why you educate. That's why I take care of people. But it's also that sense of, how do you walk into a room? Because walking into a room of 5,000 men as a woman deems a lot of courage. And you could walk in multiple different ways. And by just walking in, you present who you are. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, right? Men walk into a room of women, and I bet they're scared shitless too, right? They're probably like, oh my God.
Oh my.
These women. Oh,
What did I just get myself
What's going to happen?
Beep. Anyway, but that presence of who are you and what are you presenting? What are you presenting? And the apologies, I just want to clarify. Yeah, stop apologizing for what you, oh, I'm sorry I said that. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Those apologies, knock those off. Stop.
Yeah.
But to apologize when you're making a solution with something and you make a recommendation and it might have gone bad, you need to own that apology. Because that's a growth apology, especially as a leader, and especially to another woman, because we have those insecurities and those things that we're fighting. And for me to say to any man, woman, whoever, like, I'm so sorry that went that way. That wasn't the intention. Tell me more. And then that ability to stop talking and get comfortable in your own silence.
That's hard.
That's hard. But I'm going to tell you a story. I was taken to court once by a patient, and I was innocent. I was deemed innocent. But the lawyer said to me, they're going to ask you questions, and you're going to say yes, no. You answer, or I don't recall. You answer honestly, and you stop talking. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to get silent, you're going to get uncomfortable, and you do not start talking. And so watch any courtroom, and that's what happens. The people up there are like, oh my gosh, it's really quiet, it's really uncomfortable. I think I should start talking. Anything you say can be and will be held against you. The law knows that. So this uncomfortableness of sitting in your own silence just needs to be a new comfort. So try it. Sit with somebody once and ask them a question, and then just
Just stare at them awkwardly.
No,
Like how on
no,
with you
don't
right
stare at them uncomfortably. And then I would be like, oh my God, what do you want to know? I'll tell you everything. But
No, but
it's a practice.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a practice, yeah.
It is.
Yep, it's very, yeah.
But you know, I just want to throw in something on that
Yeah,
because
please.
I know with the coaching that I do for my clients, there's a power, and that's like the feminine can hold sacred space, you know, in that silence. And when you can hold that, you know, I think that's a gift and talent, and that applies to men as well because, again, like you mentioned, Denise, everybody has masculine and feminine aspects to them. I happen to develop my masculine a lot and then had to come back to my feminine. Now that's very powerful, but there's certain aspects you can really develop. And I love that, holding that space and just allowing, because it's like that knowledge speaks, but that wisdom listens.
Very well said.
Yeah, so I guess kind of let's move into kind of some of the, I guess, you know, maybe some of those around barriers around leadership, right? So you were in your intro, you were talking a little bit about, being a, you know, young women, right? So what do you feel are some, I guess if you're looking at your major hurdles in your life to get to where you are, can you talk about some of those and maybe kind of how you worked through them? Because I think a lot of people in the room would be interested in that as well.
Certainly. You know, again, I have my example, right? My opinion of how, you know, how things have gone. But I had, when I graduated from residency, it was my second residency in 2009. I've been a doctor for 23 years. I'm going to date myself a while. All together. But when I graduated from residency the second time, I had a 15-year plan to become the chief medical officer of a hospital. Like, that was my plan. I knew I wanted to be in executive leadership. I knew I wanted to make a difference in the world and in healthcare. And I knew that it was going to be as challenging as absolutely possible. And what I ended up doing was just putting myself out there all the time, every day, you know, just trying to either do as much research as I could, or trying to be the best physician in the group, or work longer hours, or, you know, have more meaningful conversations with my patients. I joined medical executive committees, you know, kind of to get, you know, just push your foot in the door, you know, just get in it. And, you know, and it's panned out very, you know, very, very well, fortunately. So I'm not that much, you know, I'm a lot older than I was when I started that journey. But I think if I had advice to give to somebody in who's aspiring to be a leader, especially as a female, you know, and not to diminish that leadership in males is by, I mean, it's by far, it's hard. I mean, it's all hard, right? It's like starting your own business. You still have to self-promote. You have to put yourself out there. You have to have that confidence to, you know, to shove your foot in that door. But the more, sometimes the less you speak up is much more. Active listening. I think the panel before us did a really good job of highlighting a lot of that about active listening, and then being proactive at what you do. Try to maintain, you know, your positivity, and by doing that, and again, just asking those questions. So, for example, I was the first. So I'm a family medicine physician. So by definition, I am the low man on the totem pole, medicine-wise. You know, we're the least paid, the most overworked. We never go to bed. Half of us don't sleep, and half of us burn out. You know, very, very quickly. I'm a hospitalist as well, and as such, you know, I was never the, you know, the most respected, the smartest, the one who had all, you know, as many credentials as everybody else. So trying to even have them understand that I was going to be the best possible physician for their hospital, you know, and be able to work, I had to go and change bylaws, you know, just to be able to go in and be a family medicine hospitalist. And I remember being up on this panel and I was sitting in a chair similar to this one. And it was like a jury of men in, like, there was like 5 or 6 men in white coats at this elevated platform. And I'm sitting there, I didn't even have a table. And I just had, you know, and I'm trying to, you know, cross my legs and make sure and try not to fidget, you know, and do all that stuff to, you know, show some confidence. And I had to tell these men, these doctors who were looking at me going, okay, first off, you're a girl. Second off, you're a family practitioner. So why the hell should we let you be a hospitalist in our hospital and take care of our patients? Like, this is borderline dangerous, right? And I had to convince them that I could do it, that I did all of the extra stuff in order to be able to be one of their providers, and not only be one of their providers, but be one of their top providers. And over those years, I proved not only to be one of their top providers, like my scores were 2.5, standard deviations above the mean for things like patient satisfaction and, coding and billing and all of these things that I did, and proved to them that I could be a leader, and then got into leadership through that, through that perseverance. And I made the C-suite of not only a hospital, but a 30-hospital system as chief medical informatics officer in 9 years.
Woo, good job.
Self-promotion.
Yeah.
I love it.
But that's good. Yeah, you should. Yeah, so I guess, Sean, my next question is for you, and it's really around, we're talking about authentic leadership versus actual leadership, right? So
Bingo.
so what do you actually feel is kind of like the major differences between the both?
There's so much. I mean, leadership, by its very definition, right? You're leading people. You're learning to effectively communicate. You're learning to manage conflict resolution. I mean, all those keystones when you think of leadership. For me, authentic leadership means you're leaning more into your strengths and the strengths of your team, and bringing that forward to then elevate those strengths and those talents and those abilities, right? I mean, how many of you have worked with a leader that you knew they were going through the motions, right? They were checking the boxes, but did you really know them? Did you really have a connection? Did you really learn something from them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of the best authentic leaders I have ever had the opportunity to work for let me fall on my face and go down in flames, because he knew it was a learning opportunity for me. And when I came back and I said, that was a complete and utter disaster, and he said, yeah. He said, I don't know that I've ever seen anything that spectacular in 20 years. I said, well, thank you. I said, now what do we do? And he's like, that's a good question, kid. What do we do? Right? And I had some serious decisions to make, because as I'm listening, as we've all been talking, there's a lot to be said for relationships, right? Networking gets used a lot, but it's really about cultivating relationships. And so I was early in my career. I didn't know if I wanted to be in education. I didn't like being in school. How I ended up here is just beyond all of us, right? And so I needed to make some decisions. Had I burned bridges? Had I damaged relationships? Had I built relationships, right? And so learning to fail was one of probably the greatest lessons that I ever had in authentic leadership, because it taught me more about who I was and what I could do. And what's the saying? It's not that you fail, but it's how you recover, right? That was within my first year of being in higher ed, and I've been a dean now for almost 25 years, and I absolutely love what I do. And every day I wake up, I know what my team's doing. I know what's going on with them. I know where our strengths are, where we have opportunities. I know the challenges we have ahead of us, and we continue to work towards it. And that's my style, right? Not everybody's like that. I know my team. I know their style. I know where they have strengths, and I know where we can play them, right? Same with me. They know if I need to have something back channeled, I'm probably your gal for that, right? I have tremendous relationships that I work really hard at because I care about them. But if you want me to do math in public or a pivot table, I'm not your gal, right?
Calculator, please.
Right?
Likewise.
Right? But I know that. But that's where I think there's a big difference between being a leader, that's fine, right? You're showing up, you're doing what you need to do. But being an authentic leader shows a level of commitment and really interest in who you are and what you can bring to the table, and that you're really changing lives with the leadership style that you've adopted.
Well, I think, a lot of that, coming, being a manager versus being a leader is, two very, very different concepts. You're still the head of whatever you're doing, but if you provide opportunity for those who are working with you, and notice I say with you and not under you.
That's right.
Those who are working with you to shine, to have their moments, be appreciative be grateful for them, let them know how you are, and lead by example. Work just as hard as they work to please you, to help them do the best that they can. I mean, I think that that's really, authentic leadership. And that's where your teams are going to be the most successful.
Yeah.
I agree. I wouldn't do anything. I mean, I try to buffer as much crazy as I can for them, right? I mean, we work in higher ed. Come on,
Yeah.
right? But to your point, I have their back, they have mine, and you've got that trust and that respect and that relationship, and we're all going to roll up our sleeves and do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to comment on that because being in medicine, like you, I've moved multiple times, different states, different specialties. And if there's one thing I've had to do, it's learn to prove myself. And when you're at the top of your game and you go to another company and you got to kind of suck it up and prove it, kind of suck it up, shut up, and work, that's the name of the game. And you have to, in my opinion, say to the people that have hired you, especially when you're taking care of lives, which everyone here takes care of lives, even if it's not medicine, you're taking care of lives. There's somebody above you and there's somebody below you. And it really is saying, I'm going to tell you what, this is my mojo. If I don't know, I'm going to say I don't know. If I need to find out, I'm going to call you. And if I need to just take some time away, I'm going to come and talk to you. Like, you need to know my platform. You need to know the exact way I operate. When you're like saying, give them opportunities, absolutely. But how do we give them opportunities?
Yeah.
Because when I was in private practice, oh my God, it was orthopedics. And the doctor's like, you're going to go to the other primary care and you're going to introduce yourself. And I was like, no, I'm not. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. And he must have seen it in my face. And he's like, tomorrow we're going to get in the car. And he made me do that. And I was still younger and I hated it. I was sweating. I was like, I don't want to do that. But he was a great leader because he was by my side. He taught me how to do it. He didn't say, just go do that. Well, he did. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go do that. He was like, yeah, no, you're not. We're going to do it together. And then he showed me how to do it. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. Hey, I'm Ann. I'm here. We do orthopedics. And then after that, I was like, well, that wasn't so bad. I didn't die.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Right. But when you're going to walk the walk, show them the steps.
That's right.
Yeah.
Show them the steps.
Well said.
Yeah.
So I believe we only have about 5 minutes left, I think. 5? Thank you. Yeah, I just want to make sure. So I know we're talking about all our successes here, and I just wanted to bring up a point too where, I think a lot of times, especially in today's world, you have social media, you have all these things, and you just see the face of that person. So for example, people are going to see us on panels, and if you were speaking today, everyone's going to see that face of you and say, wow, you've made it. Wow, right? But they don't see the behind the scenes. And so one thing I wanted to share too was that, 2 days ago, I'm just going to call it as it is. I had a complete meltdown. I was in an Uber. I lost my crap on an Uber driver. He had the thing is, I felt that, it was whatever. It was validated, but not to the point I took it. And anyway, he ended up kicking me out. And it was pretty harsh, right? Because he just, he couldn't understand me. I couldn't understand him. And I finally said, oh, you're kicking me out? He's like, yeah, I'm kicking you out. And I'm like, you're a jerk. I'm reporting you. And then I went and I threw all my stuff on the sidewalk. I walked and I sat on the thing and I said, I'm stranded. How am I going to get home? And it felt real to me. And the thing is, I want to share that story because these are the other side of leadership people don't see. And anyway, long story short, I got into another taxi cab. I wasn't stranded, but he saw the whole situation, but he didn't understand the Uber thing. And he said, because I was sitting in the car and I'm like, who's this crazy woman? All I saw her was throw her shopping bags on the ground. And he goes, please don't come to my cab. Please don't come to my cab. I went to his cab. And I lost it on him at first, and then I had to sit there. and I had to use my head. I'm like, I teach emotional intelligence. I teach equity, diversity, inclusion. And I had to sit there and I was like, I took a deep breath. I apologized. We ended up laughing the whole time, to the point when we got to the, got to Caesar's palace. He came flying around the door and he held the door open for me. And I'm like, he goes, I just really didn't want you yelling at me. So I just wanted to share that as kind of these are the sides that people don't see. And the thing is this is what happens when you don't take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. So in closing, I would like to ask each of our panelists, hopefully you don't have a story like that recently, like what I just did, but I guess what would be your key, if you could summarize it, I guess, in kind of, 3 words or something, what do you feel has actually helped you get through these moments? Or, what do you feel was really important when you get to that point? What do you do? I'll start with you.
I'd say get a good group, a small group of colleagues that you trust being vulnerable with, and that you have no problem going to them saying, I need feedback. Did I just really do that? And they're going to tell you, right? Keep people around you that, that are supportive of you and what you want to do, and lean on them.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic advice. I say, much to your point about you don't know what's going on kind of in the background, right? Because you have to be the face of utter confidence, all the time, or as much as you possibly can. And when you finally lose, when you finally lose it, it's like, oh, that was bad. Take care of yourself. I think that's the biggest advice that I can give to people, not even just in leadership, just in general. Right. When you're feeling overwhelmed, take time to breathe, take time to take care of yourself. My outlet is exercise, right? So, I look like a battered woman. I was saying, when I came up here, I'm going to talk about women in leadership, and it looks like somebody's beat the crap out of me. But I did a Spartan race the day before the conference started on Sunday, and it was super fun. And I'm beat up and beat up and a little bloodied and stuff, but it was a blast. But that's my outlet. That's my that's the feeding to my rage monster, is to take that time, whether it be a half an hour, 15 minutes, whatever it is, go for a walk, go get some sunshine. It's doable. People say that it's not doable. It is absolutely doable to take care of yourself, at least for a little while each day, because that takes the place and that feeds that rage monster and puts it, kind of puts it back into perspective, allows you to breathe, and then you can go on with the rest of your, crappy, stressful day. Mm-hmm. And not yell at the Uber driver, hopefully.
I think there's a couple of things. One, have bold boundaries, because when you say no to things, you're actually saying yes to yourself. 2, practice your authenticity. I think like you were sharing about, really invest in yourself, invest in your personal development, hire a coach. I hired my first life coach back in 2005, and that was a tremendous support system. Also have great relationships, and if not, have the courage to walk away from them. I'm on my 3rd marriage. I'm happily married now for 9 years, because I would not tolerate any more of the crap in my life. And then I think also just take that time for yourself to be, again, that beingness, and honor, follow your pleasures and follow your passions.
Yeah, so good. Thank you so much for sharing that vulnerability, because that's not easy. Yeah, and I commend you. Hard. Because it's not easy to say that, so thank you. Mm-hmm. And everything that you've all said is great advice. Great advice. I do have a rule about non-negotiables. There's boundaries and there's non-negotiables. And non-negotiable is exactly that. In the past, I did this. I experienced this with maybe your other 2 husbands, or, I'm in that situation, 1 ex. But it taught me what I'm not going to tolerate anymore. It taught me many lessons. Mm-hmm. It taught me a lot about myself and about relationships. It taught me this is a definition and it's a non-negotiable. This is a boundary. They're 2 different things. And definitely taking care of yourself, learning to laugh. I love to laugh. This is going to be a story for a lesson. When I was in PA school, my girlfriend and I took the car, we took a tent, we took a cooler, and 10 pounds of licorice And we drove to the Keys from Pennsylvania for our spring break because we didn't have any money. And we were sitting around the campfire, and I don't know, these two drunk guys came, and my girlfriend was so annoyed. Now, they were silly, and I was laughing because I was like, this is so out of control. They're being ridiculous. And I'm just laughing because I'm thinking they're having a great time. And she was so mad. She was so mad. She's like, so annoyed. So, like, why are they here? This is our campfire. And I looked at her and I said, hey, just laugh. Like, literally, just laugh. Understand that this situation that you're in right now deems laughter. Because when you laugh, you can find the entertainment in almost anything. You can find the entertainment in yours. And when you said laugh at yourself, I think that's a very important thing. There's places to laugh at yourself and places not to laugh at yourself.
Very humble.
But understand that it is very therapeutic. And if you can learn to laugh at that situation, at somebody else without, hurting their feelings, and laugh at yourself, especially when you're angry, and being like, wow, I got some work to do. I think that's a great lesson.
That experience is going to be on my LinkedIn post next.
I cannot wait.
I'm going to call it.
I'm going to send you cartoons that just.
Oh, you're going to get so many memes off of that?
It's
I
great.
know. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Do we have time for questions?
I think we are done.
I just wanted to say one thing regarding women in
Oh,
leadership, just to kind of finish off, just kind of piggyback a little bit on what you said. I'll be brief. As women, we feel like we need to take care of everybody around us. We try to take care of our children, of our husbands, of our coworkers, of our friends. It's innate and it's part of our DNA as women and as men. But that understanding your boundaries and when to get rid of the crap, when to say no, when to sever those relationships, when to sever those friendships. I think that's a very important point. I appreciate that. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of others and therefore lead others.
Yeah.
That
I
was it.
think.
That was
Yeah, I think that's time. So I know you
wanna
had a
ask-
question.
Please do.
Hi,
Hi.
good afternoon. Dina Simon, Chief HR Officer at the New York City Teachers Retirement System. Thank you for this panel. Very informative. Seeing is believing, and seeing you make a lot of us feel that we can be in your place. As an HR practitioner, I'm always looking for solutions to bridge the gap between Black women ascending to leadership position. What advice would you have for women of color to be able to bridge that gap and advance?
I could probably do.
Well, I'm going to say something that may be controversial. I want us to stop segregating everything. I want to stop segregating our different colors, our ethnicities, our genders. I've heard so many times in the past days somebody come up here that's a different color than me saying, but our color is discriminated against because of our mental health. And I want to say, so is ours. We have to stop seeing each other so differently. Because we're in a world of difference. And if we could just be in a world of similarities. And I want you to walk in that room, girlfriend, and I want you to own your power as a woman and as a person. Because every single one of us have two truths, actually three. Do you know what they are? Every single one of us have three things that every single one of us go through. What are they? Who knows what's one? You're born and you're going to die. We were all born and we're all going to die. Pretty similar. And then what happens between those two things? We live. We get to live. And how you define that is really up to you. Yes, I've been discriminated against. Really, it's hard. I've been judgmental. I've been the whole nine. But if you can do something to just walk in that room and forget you're a different color and understand that you bring a presence, you bring wisdom, you bring energy, you bring experience.
Confidence.
You bring confidence. You bring a story. Everybody has a story. Everybody wants to tell a story. I grew up a little farm kid, a little shy farm kid. I wasn't given anything. I had to, I had to work. I had to sell my plasma. I had to pay my parents back as interest for college. Like, you all struggled to get here.
Yeah, I just want to add something to that just because of that's kind of my, I guess, where I'm in. And so last year I did a pan-Canadian national research project about bridging to gender equality. And I just want to point out, like, I absolutely agree with what you're saying too, Anne. But also, I guess it's a both and perspective that there is real barriers for people of color from the BIPOC community of being able to walk into a room, and they have this whole set of other barriers just based on how they look. So I believe what the question was just really around, what are some of those practices that we can kind of instill around that? And because if you look at it, even in senior leadership, I'm from Canada, so I mean, it was a little bit of a different thing, but it was just, 5% of women are actually in leadership, senior leadership roles. And it goes even down further. So, because I'm from Canada, our First Peoples, of course, are Indigenous people, right? So it even goes down to 1%.
So what is your recommendation to her to answer the exact question? Like, what can she do?
Yeah,
a great question.
I mean,
what
I think,
exactly can she
you know what, and exactly to your point,
Yeah.
it's like walking into the room, but also saying that it's not up to her to do this. It's about systems that are in place and around organizations. Organizations and leaders need to start truly creating an inclusive, belonging, and a diverse thing. And the difference between just because you hire a person of color, a person with a disability, whatever you want to say, but if they walk into that organization or into that leadership position and they're not supported, nothing is going to change. So I guess it's not really directly answering it because it's not a her problem.
So you're
It's
saying
an
she can't get in?
No, I'm not.
That's
no,
what I'm hearing.
No,
Is
I'm
that-
not saying that. I'm just
I'm
saying that organizations need to kind of
Yeah.
shift their
Right,
perspectives.
I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of exactly what you're saying is that we need to find this common ground, and we're both saying you're saying the same thing basically, but in different
go for it.
aspects. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank you ladies for having this panel. I also want to address you. Thank you for your opinion. I am a Black woman in senior leadership. And so when I go into a room, it's not the same. I appreciate what you're saying about we should look at things different perspective. I am about advocating for allyship. So I totally appreciate that. However, when I go into a room, it's the experience that she is speaking about. We are not supported. We need allies. If we want to have the same, we have to be the change that we want to see. So I ask you for that goal that you ally with us. I've been in leadership in healthcare for 27 years. I am a DEI practitioner. I stand on allyship, and we all bleed the same blood.
Yeah.
But for that statement that you just said, thank you for the context. Because unfortunately, we would love to think like you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen like that for us.
It doesn't happen like that, but how many people say it?
What do you mean? How many people say
Well,
it?
how many people get up and say what I said, right? Because we do have to change the thought process.
And I love that.
Right.
I'm
But
an ally.
Yeah,
I
no,
love
I'm
that.
with you.
Yeah.
You and me, we're
Ally.
holding
I'm
hands.
just making the statement.
Okay,
Yeah, and
I-
all of systems are broken. All systems are broken. There are not many systems in medicine, in the C-suites, in any job probably. Who here really has a system that works?
No, and that's why we are all coming together and we're having these conversations and being able to put these things together and implement.
Yeah.
So I wish that was the case. I can go in somewhere, I'm looked at the same as you. I don't have to be 10 times more hungrier, 10 times more humbler, and 10 times more smarter to even get into a door. That's my hope for today.
Yeah.
But that is not where we are today. We are making progress.
Not the reality.
That's not where we are today. So I would really appreciate ideas around allyship because we all have to bond together.
Yes.
My question for you ladies is, since you've gotten to the levels that you're at, which I'm so humble, it's so beautiful to see women at these levels, how are you giving back to the people are trying to get to those levels?
Yeah. So can we actually talk about this?
Yes,
Can
sure.
we just, yeah, because I know that we're way over, but
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
That's our hook.
Yeah,
It was
thank you very
really
much.
fun.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
participating, everybody.